Women of Reddit, what's the worst thing someone has ever said to you during sex? A guy once shamed me for being wet by saying my vagina was too gloopy. I put my clothes on and left. Can you just stop? The noises you're making are killing the mood. I was having a great time up until that point. I can't stay hard cause you keep crying. I was crying cause I didn't want to have sex. A quiet, oh. Once my push-up bra came off and he saw how flat-chested I really was, embarrassed smiley face. Edit, I just woke up to a lot of comments about body shaming and I don't think he meant to body shame me at all. He was just genuinely surprised and an awkward guy who sometimes said things out loud which he shouldn't, person shrugging. Also, he had seen me naked before, so he already knew what they looked like? Like I don't get why he was surprised. If going to the gym isn't working, would you at least consider ass implants so your body would at least look somewhat proportional? I was like, make me come, and he literally said, I can't. Then it was over. I had just gotten a pixie cut and I asked my friends with benefits to pull my hair during sex and he said, what hair? The actual worst, he called me, Mom. More common and less funny, when they whine about condoms. First of all, the fact that he thinks he's getting out of it implies someone somewhere has allowed this, which means he definitely needs to wear one. Second, whining like a child? Not sexy. Just go, guy, I'll take care of this myself. Then he stood out on the sidewalk outside my window crying in the cold while I was trying to rub one out. Honestly, I'd trade 10 of him for the one who said mom and still get change back. I said, get off of me. He said, wait until I nut. I said, get the fuck off, and pushed him off of me. He said, are you mad? I was 14 and he was 15. My friend had just walked in on us and I was so embarrassed, so I wanted him to stop and he wouldn't. Ooh, I have another one. I was far more experienced. When I came he full on stopped and said, what was that? Is that supposed to happen? Yup, that's most of my point for doing the sex. Carry on, let's see if we can do it again. Not during but after my ex asked if I had drunk a lot of water that day because I felt super dry. I don't think this man understood what foreplay was or how to get me in the mood. Obviously that was my fault though. He kept calling me Natasha. My name is not Natasha. I had only just met him so I didn't care enough about him to feel jealous, but I still felt disrespected. If it was once I would have let it go, but it was like 3 times after I specifically told him not to do that and reminded him what my name is several times. I kicked him out. It's not fun when you're not into it, as I was crying lol. Good riddance. I went from being morbidly obese to anorexic underweight for my height. I hooked up with this guy who knew me at both weights. After we fucked he pulled out a scale and told me to get on it. Fuck me up. Why are you so wet? I like using lubricant, I don't want that. While pointing at me. Call me daddy. We had not negotiated this before and age play is a hard limit for me. So I was like, nope, we're done. I once got totally naked and the guy was totally naked, he was hard, his penis was rubbing on my vagina lips, it was the point of no return. Then he felt my legs, which I hadn't shaved for a total of like 2 to 3 days. He pushed me off, told me he wouldn't have sex with me because it was gross. And I left. I got revenge though because he ended up at another point eating me out in the dark while I was on my period. He was drunk and didn't notice and it was all over his face. Best revenge ever. Whispered in my ear, you're a delicate little flower and I'd never do anything to hurt you during a one-night stand. I was giving my BF, now ex, a hand job and he said, are you my little lolly? And it disgusted me so much that I stopped immediately and asked why he would say something like that. I didn't continue. You should really get a boob job. I was 19. I'm now 27. Still think about it every single time I take off my bra. Refuse to do so in sexual encounters until I'm deep in a relationship. Horrible encounter. I fucking love you. We were FWB, and I had feelings for him, but he wouldn't express anything for me outside of sex. Sincerely, he always treated me like a girlfriend, that's why I caught feelings. When he realized what he said, his face changed and he started apologizing for it. While he was still trying to continue fucking me. Then he corrected himself and said, I meant to say, I love fucking you. I got up and left. Shameful to say, that wasn't the last time I saw him or fucked him. It ended a month or so later. But shit, I was crushed. My high school boyfriend told me he wanted us to take a break right before he came. It was so unbelievable that I thought he was joking. He was not. Technically not when we were having sex, but when my first boyfriend tried to take my virginity, obviously it hurt and we had to stop. He told people at school that we didn't finish because The faces she made were ugly and turned me off. He apologized for it later, but you can imagine that did wonders on my non-existent self-esteem. You like that, dirty bitch, and the worst sexual encounter I have ever had. I promptly left and never spoke to him again. When I was heavier I dated this black metal guy, not stereotyping, but he tried to fit the role. We were fucking standing up, he stopped, backhanded me hard enough I stumbled backwards and fell and said, "Fuck you, you fat bitch." I was drunk and confused as to what happened. He continued fucking me on the ground. He finished and all I remember was lying there after being like, what the fuck. I dated this guy a few times who I wasn't attracted to. Why? I kept being told by other women that my standards were too high. He didn't care about simple hygiene and had the worst breath. I went to his place and we got naked. I hadn't shaved my legs in 3 days, but I thought no big deal. It was barely any hair. He stopped me when I took off my clothes and told me I needed to shave my legs before we could have sex. He literally gave me a razor, showed me to his bathroom and closed the door. I was in a bad place mentally and I actually shaved my damn legs and had sex with him. Talk about regrets, more on a moral level than a practical one at least. You would be perfect if you had a D cup. Mid-hump, I stopped and said thanks, you would be perfect if your dick was 10 inches. Then promptly grabbed my clothes and left. That mole above your belly button is a real turn-off. Then get your mediocre dick out of me? Also WTF? It's a tiny little mole. Dumbass. This is actually embarrassing/shameful on my part, but I was 18 and fucking stupid, so here goes. I had a FWB from my work, but I really liked him and wanted it to be more than it was. So we were hooking up and right in the middle of me riding him, he picked up a phone call from another girl, who also worked with us, and proceeded to have a normal conversation with her. I wanted him to think that I was cool and I didn't care that he was talking to other girls, so I just kept going. Ugh. I hate myself. As I was willingly preparing to give him a BJ that he asked for, he says, "I have no idea how women can do this. It's so disgusting. Thanks but no thanks." After I lost my virginity sophomore year of high school, I was bleeding. My boyfriend at the time said, "Damn, I tore that pussy up. So chivalrous. I could just come inside you right now if I wanted to and there'd be nothing you could do about it," said with his hand around my throat. And he wondered why I left and never spoke to him again. After I had our first child, experiencing significant pelvic floor damage that kept me in pelvic floor PT 8 months. Boy, it's sure a lot different down there. We had a mutual friend called Sarah. Wouldn't it be great if Sarah was here? No, it wouldn't. I left. He didn't fuck Sarah either. Why the fuck are you like this? You're not relaxing on purpose. When I was hurting during sex. Yeah, my guy. An attitude like that will get me to relax. And him continuing to try and get himself off while seeing him in pain is cherry on top. Once he realized it was too painful, he angrily got off of me and berated me for giving him the worst sex of his life. Needless to say, by next time, I learned to force myself to relax. What's worse? We were in a long relationship at that time. The condom came off once the sex was over. Me then replying, "Just pull it out," then thinking I came off while he was pulling out and the end be sticking out, which can happen. Him saying, "I think you need to." Turns out the condom was balled up at the top of my vagina at my cervix. Still don't know if he came in the condom or in me. Anyway, both ways I'd get sperm in me, and I'm not on birth control. I had to press the condom to the wall of my vagina and push it to get it out. It hurt really bad. The day after I got my period, and since my cycle is really regular and my ovulation too, I figured I'd skip the morning after pill. Though there is a small chance of getting pregnant. I didn't want to fuck up my hormones. Turns out I wasn't pregnant, and even though the sex was just a one-night stand, though we kinda knew each other, I figured he'd want to know he wasn't going to become a father, so I messaged him telling him I wasn't pregnant. He ghosted me. He's really the biggest asshole ever, and the sex also sucked. He now has a girlfriend and I see them sometimes. I really feel sorry for her. A random hookup shoved his massive dick so far down my throat that it covered my windpipe and he couldn't breathe. I was tapping my hand and trying to get up and he held my head down and said, "Don't worry, I'm not going to let you die." I froze up, but fortunately my brain subconsciously protected me by skinning his dick with my teeth. He went home soon after that, thank God. He very well could have killed me. I stopped doing random hookups after that. I still shudder thinking about it. It was in the middle of a make-out sesh with one of my Tinder hookups and he said, "I heard that skinny girls don't feel anal, like they don't have nerves in their ass so they don't feel it." I kicked him out after he said that SMH. I love you, Christina. I am not Christina. Christina was his best friend's wife. God give me a baby son, God give me a baby son. I didn't know that he took the condom off. I would have been furious, but I was in a confused state of anger and empathy. His 7-year-old son died of cancer 3 years before that moment. FWB mid-coitus, he says, "You are probably the largest girl I've ever been with. I was at a very healthy point in my life and just learning to celebrate my body and my sexuality. It completely devastated me." As it turns out, his last 2 exes were legitimately addicted to heroin. It was a great pivotal moment for me to reevaluate with whom I shared my body from that point on. Douche of a boyfriend told me I was too loose in my vagina. Messed me up for many years. Looking back, I know he was new to sex and only had porn as a reference. One time someone told me, "You're so good at sucking dick, I wish I can cut off your head and keep it with me at all times. Never been so scared in my life. I'm just so bored." Yelled at me when I cried from the anal rape. I gained quite a bit of weight in college after switching to the birth control pill I'm on now. I had an extremely hard time adjusting to the weight gain because of past disordered eating, and my ex knew this. He told me during sex one night that my thighs were getting too big and it was making it difficult for him to fuck me. "I like to fuck you from behind so I don't have to see your face,"